Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Welcome Home, Future Homeowner. We appreciate you being here with us this evening. Thank you for taking time to be with us and hear this wonderful webinar and this wonderful information that's going to be shared with you tonight. My name is Denise Smalls, and I am with the Westlake Financial Wellbeing Center. We will get started. So before we get started with the webinar, just wanted to give you, if you're new to the Financial Wellbeing Center, just wanted to give you some information about us. Myself and my coworker, Latricia Holt, we are the participants in the Westlake Financial Wellbeing Center, and we provide free services to the Westlake and 32805 community. We provide financial webinars like this one. We provide virtual financial counseling, job placement information, career resources, and community resources. In addition, we have a YouTube channel. So I will put that in the chat a little later, but it's here on the screen as well. And we have been doing webinars since we got sent home last year. So we have a number of webinars recordings out there on our YouTube channel. So please feel free to go out there and look at it and let us know what your thoughts are. If you want any information about the Financial Wellbeing Center, you can contact my coworker, Latricia Holt. Her number is here on the screen, as well as her email. And just want everyone to know that the Financial Wellbeing Center is sponsored by Lyft Orlando and Truist. Just wanted to give you some housekeeping rules. You are currently muted. Your video is turned off, and the webinar will be recorded. And it will go out on that YouTube channel that I have out there eventually. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A feature that should be on your screen near the chat, and all questions will be answered at the end of each presentation. Once the guest speakers are finished, there will be a post-test link that I will provide for you in the chat. Please put your full name in the post-test. Answer the questions, because our guests will provide all of the answers as well as tons of information. And once you answer the questions, just hit submit. We will have a raffle drawing when all of the post-test assessments are received. And then we just want you to know that we collect and maintain your registration information, and we will use it to communicate with you about future webinars. We have webinars maybe about twice a month on different topics. So I'm going to stop sharing and just want to tell you who our speakers are. Our first speaker is Mr. Frank Wells. He's the president of Bright Community Trust and the CEO of House. Then we have Ms. Tracey Blue, who's the director of Strategic Community Initiatives. And then we have Danya Perez, and she's the client service director. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to them. And again, if you have any questions, you don't need to wait until the end of their presentation. Please feel free to put your questions in as they talking, and they will get to your questions. Thank you. And thank you, Frank, Tracey, and Danya, for participating with us tonight.
Denise, thanks so much for having us. Latricia, we sure appreciate you all hosting this tonight. We're really excited to be here with you all and with our friends at the Westlake Financial Wellbeing Center to talk about home ownership, and particularly about community land trusts as one vehicle, one stepping stone toward home ownership for a lot of families. Denise, if you want to put up that first poll, we could go ahead and get that underway while I start sharing my screen. Fantastic. So we thought it would be interesting to know for people, when you were growing up, did your family mostly rent your home or own, or some of both? Because that might help us understand a little bit better who's here in the audience today. So if you will, click one of those options. We'll leave that up for just a minute while everybody has a chance to respond. And I'll tell you just a little bit about our organization. Bright Community Trust was started over in Pinellas County. That's the St. Pete Clearwater area over on the Gulf Coast back in 2008 to work on housing access, housing affordability issues. One of the things that we think we do really well, that's been a really important piece of our mission, is particularly promoting home ownership for people that otherwise have not had a chance to buy a home before. And so we expanded over to Central Florida. That's the housed logo you see. We gave our Central Florida organization a different identity, but all part of the same family. We are just getting to work here. We became operational here last February, of course, right in time to run into a pandemic like I know all of you have experienced. So it has been quite a year, but we hope that we can get to work this year and start building some homes in the community and start sharing these opportunities for home ownerships around the community. Denise, how do we do on that poll? What kind of results did we get? There you go.
Results are being shown now.
Yeah, pretty interesting. So about half of us rented our homes growing up and then owned, and then some combination of both. So thanks for sharing that. I'll get underway. We'll have another poll later on. I'm going to get underway and talk specifically about community land trusts. I don't know how much people have heard about this before, so this is kind of a quick dash through a whole lot of information, but please feel free to put any questions you have along the way in the Q&A, and I'm happy to answer them as we go. So community land trusts originated in the United States back in the late 60s. In Georgia was the very first one in the country, and it was started by a group in the community to help a group of Black farmers own the community around them, own the land so that they could participate in the benefits of owning the place that they were working. It was an opportunity for the community to come together and own that community asset in a way that was beneficial to the community. So it wasn't absentee landlords anymore. Now it was benefiting the community. Pretty quickly after that, people realized that this was a great way for the community to participate in owning land underneath homes as well, not just agriculture, farming assets, but an opportunity to promote home ownership, but to do it in a way that made sure that not just the first homeowner, but every homeowner after that also enjoyed the benefits of that lower cost, so that people who'd always been stuck being renters before would have an opportunity to step into home ownership, to build some equity in that home, to build some household wealth. So that's largely what we do. Oh, I forgot to push the button. There we go. So community land trusts, that's us, as a nonprofit that develops and stewards affordable housing or other community assets on behalf of the community. So we're trying to balance between benefiting the individual that's going to have ownership of the home at any one time and the community's need for affordable housing in the community in perpetuity. So here's how they work. The community owns the land. There's a 99-year ground lease, practically forever, right? We don't have all that many homes that have been around for more than 99 years. And the family owns the home. So pretty simple, you own the house. The community land trust nonprofit owns the land that it is sitting on. And these two, the homeowner and the landowner, share the appreciation, share the growth of the value of that home in a way that keeps the home affordable, not just for one, but for future generations. And so in order to do that, we're typically taking an investment from the city, the county, maybe a foundation or another nonprofit making a contribution to purchase the land and build the home and sell it way below market price in a way that makes it accessible for more people. If the average home that was sold in the Orlando area last year was way over $300,000, that's way out of reach for most of us. A community land trust home is priced so that it's accessible to people at lower income levels so that people have an opportunity. But that requires making an investment in owning that land. So in return for being able to buy that home below the market rate, then the family agrees to share some of the value when they leave, however long that is. That could be 3 years later, could be 30 years later. And so that family has an opportunity to stop being renters and now to be a land trust homeowner in a way that builds up some wealth for them, but they don't take all the appreciation out when they go. They leave some behind for the next family that's going to buy that home, and then the next family, and then the next family after that. It's really a community benefit kind of arrangement. So what we find is that it gives people a better chance to become homeowners. A lot of the communities that we serve, a lot of the families that we serve have never had an opportunity to buy before. They've always been renters. And if they just went out in the open market, there's nothing priced within their price range to buy a home until this land trust makes it available at a much lower price. It also is a great way to build household wealth. And we know that that's one really transformative factor. I know that our friends at the West Lakes Financial Wellbeing Center talk a lot about how important it is to build that household wealth toward retirement, toward saving for children's education, toward having an emergency fund in case of a medical emergency or something like that. The other benefit to this, of course, from a city or a county's perspective, is that they're making a one-time investment to keep a home affordable for every future homeowner that goes into it. And that helps those city or county dollars go farther. It means that we can help more people with the same relatively scarce amount of dollars that the city and the county has. We know that promoting home ownership can help build safer neighborhoods, higher quality neighborhoods, because homeowners are typically more stable in their housing. Nobody can increase your mortgage next year the same way that a landlord could increase your rent next year and make you have to move out of your neighborhood. And that kind of housing stability over the long term helps kids to do better in school by staying in the same neighborhood and the same school, helps parents have a better opportunity to stay stably in a job and grow in a career and grow their earning power. So we mostly talk about single family homes, but a land trust structure can also be used for a whole bunch of other things. We have some apartment complexes elsewhere in the state where we own the land, and we use them to keep the rent affordable, not just to provide home ownership opportunities. So this could be a great tool in other ways as well, and can even be used in commercial settings. So here are the kind of the key points. An income constrained household, in other words, people that are making average kind of working wages that have always been renters are now going to have an opportunity to purchase a home within this land trust structure and build some equity, build some household wealth. That's really important. But we do it in a way that the affordability is there. They're able to buy it below market rate, but the next person who buys it from them, whenever they leave, 5 years or 50 years later, doesn't matter. They choose how long they stay, and when they leave, it's also affordable for the next folks who come behind them, which is really important to help more and more family. And it protects that subsidy that we are taking from a city or a county or a foundation, a private donor, gets protected, and we have more of it available. And by doing that, by promoting home ownership and by promoting opportunities for home buying and building wealth, then we're hoping to displace fewer people out of the neighborhood. That's one of our biggest concerns around the neighborhoods in West Lakes and Paramore and other neighborhoods that are increasingly seeing more people want to move into the neighborhood, and the cost of housing is just going up, up, up. We hope that this can be one small tool in the toolbox towards helping people stay in the neighborhoods that they love. Another thing that's great about this, and this may not be the biggest concern these days, but with housing prices rising rapidly and what's happened with the pandemic, a good thing to know about, we were really glad that because we do a lot in partnership with organizations like Westlake's Financial Wellbeing Center, because of the great work that Tanya does, helping people get really ready for a mortgage. Community land trust home buyers were not subject to the same kind of challenges through the last recession. So here's the national rate, right? 4.58% of mortgages. That was the foreclosure rate back in 2009. For community land trusts, it was under 1%, right? So a whole lot fewer, almost no community land trust homeowners were foreclosed on through the Great Recession because they were well prepared financially. They bought a home that they could actually afford, and they were able to afford to stay in it. That's critically important to people. There's a chart with the same kind of information on it. One thing that we're really excited about is that we're trying to figure out how to expand the land trust model. Most land trusts in the country work in only one neighborhood. Something like 3/4 of the land trusts around the country have fewer than 20 homes in them. At Bright Community Trust and now at Housed, we've done about 120 homes, and we're serving several counties around Florida now. So we're really excited about the way that lets us bring more expertise to the table. And with that, I'll say thank you so much. Happy to take any questions if they appeared in the chat or the Q&A. And I think, Denise, we have one more poll, if we could put that up before I turn it over to my colleague Danya to do her presentation. So our question is, where are you on your timeline to home ownership? Do you already own a home and you were just curious about community land trusts? We're delighted to have you here. If you've been thinking about buying a home, what's your timeline? Right now, 3-6 months in the future, a year or more? Not really sure. We'll give everybody just a few more seconds to answer this quiz and kind of see where we are. Danya runs all of our homebuyer education and financial counseling programs. So we are really excited to hand it over to her in just a second. Denise, when we've hit 45 seconds, if you will put the results up. All right, we've got a whole lot of different answers in here. So thank you all so much for answering that. Without further ado, let me hand this over to Danya Perez, our Client Services Manager.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Frank. Can everyone hear me okay?
That's great.
Wonderful. I will go ahead and share my slide with you. There we go. So as you know, I'm Danya with Bright Community Trust. I do homeownership education, counseling, as well as the 8-hour homeownership education class, and I process the files for the land trust that Frank was talking about. Basically, what I do is, my goal is to help whoever comes to me accomplish their goal, which is becoming a homeowner. So we really focus on helping people become mortgage ready. It could be, and there's a wide range of time frames. You have people that come to me that are ready right away, and then you have people that come to me in it's a couple of years. Everyone at their own pace. It's no rush. It is not. All my goal is to help you reach your goal, and we do what they always talk about, baby steps. So we start off with our short-term goals, keeping in mind of our long-term goal, which is homeownership. The first thing that I want to let everyone know is the 8-hour homeownership education class. That prepares individuals for the home ownership process. It is 8 hours. I do it one Saturday out of the month. And I do have it where I do like to have it where it's interactive. Usually in my class, right now, I would see everybody on there. We would all have open communication. So this is a little different for me right now. So the material that I get it from is the main organization that trains most of, I would say, a good portion of the housing counselors out there within the United States, which is NeighborWorks America. And the material that I use is Realizing the American Dream. And for the 8-hour class, what we do is we start off with, are you ready to buy a home? Managing your money, understanding your credit, obtaining a mortgage loan, shopping for a home, protecting your investment. And then I throw in information about down payment assistance and how it works and how it's applied and what documents is the lender going to need and what documents are they going to need for the down payment assistance. Just we talk about really everything that has to do from home ownership, even all the way to when you're looking for a house, what to look for, questions to ask, things like that. So when you start the process, you're more comfortable going out there and talking to people. And basically, a HUD-approved housing counselor is what we are is we're a neutral party who has no game in your purchase. You know, there's something going on, you have a question, you can call me up. Tanya, you know, my realtor said this, what does it mean? You know, and we talk it through, we figure it out. I'm like, send me the document, we'll look at it together. Things like that. It's just someone to have, you know, it's also on top of education, but someone to have to throw ideas to, you know, say, well, this is kind of funny, I'm not understanding it. And if I don't understand it, and I know a lot of people in my industry are like me, we will call the lender, we'll call the realtor, and we will have these conversations on your behalf. And usually I do it with you on a 3-way call. We discuss it and be like, wait, what's going on here? What does this mean? Why do you have this on this document? So just, I hope I'm not rambling. Also, so the benefits to the 8-hour class is not just for the homeownership education certificate. I threw that in there because some people in the class are like, they just want their certificate. And I'm like, no. It's not just for that. And I know it seems, I don't know, everybody says it, and I know it seems cheesy to say it, but it's true. You know, there is power in education and knowledge. So it reduces the risk of foreclosure, as Frank was saying. You know your rights as an individual. Knowing your rights, it prepares you for the homeownership process from the very beginning, you know, from like doing your budget, why do I need to save this much money, to all the way to talking to your realtor, speaking with your lender. Even once you're in the home, what do you do now? You know, what do I do now that I have a home? You know, then we even discussed that, or what happens if you have your home and you lose your job, you know, things like that. Become more credit worthy. You know, we talk about budgeting, improving your credit report, and also basically is taking the first steps towards turning your dream into reality. And that's why we're all here. Some examples for the class, and I'll throw in this question. We talk about what are the 4 C's of credit. And the 4 C's of credit, one of them is, you know, of course, number 1, credit. Aspects of that is, do you pay your bills regularly on time? You know, collateral. Are there any judgments on your credit report? Have you filed any bankruptcies? And just, I like to throw this out there. If you have, it's not the end of the world, you know, everything is fixable. I don't know if that's a word, but I'm making it a word. It's fixable. And then you have, you know, do you have too much open credit lines? We talk about that as well. High balances versus available limit and how that affects your credit. We discuss it. Then you have capacity. You know, that's your current capacity is your current income, your debt to ratios, your income history, and your future earning potential, the amount you owed, installments account, revolvings, and other monthly payments. Sorry, guys, monthly payments. Then you have your capital with the cash. That's like what you're bringing into the deal. You know, you have your down payment, you have the loan fees, closing costs, escrows, and reserves. And then collateral, which is, we have inspector and appraiser, but the collateral is the house. That's that's the collateral. And that's one of them, I believe. And what is included in most mortgage payment? So we call it PITI, P-I-T-I. And I don't have it in here, but I also like to throw in an A, and I'll explain that in a little bit. So PITI, what that means is principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Whenever that is what's included in mortgage payment. And I'm going to say some because not all lenders will do that. FHA will. A lot of first-time home buyer programs with lenders will want that put that on there. It's called an escrow account. When you include all payments, you pay them monthly, one payment, and at the end, when it's time to pay your taxes and insurance, your lender goes and they pay that for you. I like that. That way you don't have to worry about saving all this money at the end of the year to come up with all your taxes and your insurance and everything else you have going on. Because I know sometimes our intent is to save and things happen. And, so it's always to be covered. And I like the escrow option. FHA, you have the escrow. You don't have an option for that. And what I was saying about A, which is a homeowners association, just so you know, whenever you purchase a house, even though I put down here PITI, which is principal, interest, tax, and insurance, when they're looking at your debt to ratio income, what that means is how much house you can afford. If you have any homeowners association fees, which is either for a condo or a single family residence community, even with a land trust, that has to be included into your how much house you can afford. So it's not something you pay to the lender directly, but it is included as part of the whole picture of your affordability. Then I have the one-on-one pre-purchase counseling. And basically it was established to help potential homeowners become mortgage ready. It's almost like the class, but it's more detailed towards you, because you got to keep in mind the class is a group of people, and the one-on-one is just, we sit down together, we look at your employment, I look at how much you have saving, and I say, okay, first of all, employment, W-9, W-2, are you self-employed? This is how lenders look at self-employment. How long have you been at your job? We look at your savings. I tell you, this is why, how much do you have in savings? Okay, and this is all the things that you need to do with your savings when you're buying a house. And we look at your credit. Do you have to work on your credit or not? We do a budget together. And then I send you a budget, and then you got to really do a detailed budget. I'm real big on budgeting and saving. And as I mentioned before, we look at your credit report, see what your scores are, what needs to be done to increase your scores, or if you're ready to go and you're ready to move forward. We look at how much house you can afford, and that's why we always go back to the budget because usually you got to keep in mind what the lender says, bam, is one thing with your monthly gross income, and you live based on your budget. So that's one of the other reasons why I really like people to work on their budget to truly see where they're at. And then we create an action plan, and I don't do it for you, it's mutual. We both do it together. I don't do the work, you do the work, and when you get it done, it's really something to feel really proud of. Especially just working on your credit alone is something to feel proud of when you accomplish that. And then I explain to you about home inspections and things like that. So, and that is it for me. I believe I had a question, and this is my email. If you guys want to email, you're welcome to reach out. That's my phone number. And oops, what did I do?
I can read you the question so then everybody can hear it too.
Okay, that's what I was looking for. Thank you.
The question was, how can you attend the class if you work on Saturdays? Is that the only time the class is offered?
It is. It is, but we do have one that's through frameworks that you can do it at your own pace. That combined with us working together on the one-on-one would pretty much work towards your benefit as well.
That's great. So there's an option for people to do some self-study and then work with Tanya one-on-one and get most of the same benefits. And we have some other partner organizations that we work with, we'll reach out to them also and find out if there's somebody else. I think there is another organization here locally that teaches classes other times than just on Saturdays.
Yep. Oh, and I have another question. How can you use a certificate to buy a home? So good question. So the certificate is not specifically used to buy a home. What that does is it's a requirement if you're going to be receiving when you're receiving down payment assistance. And some lenders do require you to take the first-time homeownership education class because it prepares you for it. And there has been studies that show that people who've taken the class and are educated are less likely to go into default. And that is, you got to keep in mind that that is the lender's main goal. They don't want your house. They don't, all that happened during the Great Recession. Nobody wants that to happen again. So the certificate is basically a requirement for down payment assistance and some of the lenders. Then I have one more. How do you sign up for the class? If, as of right now, just send me an email and I will reach out to you. If you like, in your email, just let me know, Johnny, I want to sign up for the homeownership education class, and give me your name, your email. Well, I have your email, just your name, your phone number, and your address, and then I'll sign you up. And then you'll get an email from me. If anybody's interested, I do have a class this Saturday. I know it's short notice, but if you're available, it's on the Saturday the 15th, and it starts at 8 o'clock in the morning, but it is through Zoom. So, you know, you don't have to be all, you have nowhere to go. You could just be home, you know, and take the class and hang out with me for 8 hours. Any other questions? Oh,
There-
yep.
There are a couple more in the chat. If you open the
Okay.
chat, you can see them.
Any information on assistance for VA loans? VA loans, I hope, what do you mean by assistance? There is, you can get down payment assistance and still have a VA loan. VA does 100% finance. You don't need any down payments. It's 100% loan to value. However, depending on where you live, you might be able to get local down payment assistance to help you with the closing costs. That is an option for VA. And if that's what you were asking, I hope I answered your question. If you qualify, are you limited in the area where you can purchase? You know, it all depends. You know, this is a hard question. I don't want to say that anyone's limited. I just don't know. It depends on the purchase price in the area. I mean, that's why Bright is real big on promoting affordable housing in the community land trust. Right now, where I'm at, because I'm in the Tampa Bay area, it's expensive. It really is. I get calls all the time to sell my house. I'm thinking, if I sell my house, where am I going to live? There's no way. So it just depends. It's hard to really answer that. But if you're curious, the best way to do this is to meet with someone, see how much you can afford, and then take it from there. And then go ahead.
Danya, I think the certificate, though, it's a nationally certified HUD class, right? So any municipality that accepts it?
They should. Any municipality should accept it, as long as the key thing is being by a HUD approved housing counseling agency. That's the key. How is your down payment assistance determined? Okay, so you guys are asking some really good questions that the class would cover. So how is your down payment assistance payment determined? It's based on how much, usually okay, keep in mind that down payment assistance is separate than your regular, here's your mortgage loan, right? And here's your down payment assistance. Your down payment assistance normally would be as a 0% interest, and it's usually deferred for 5 years, and it's based on how much you borrow. Every county is different on how they work their down payment assistance. Some of them forgives some of it, some of them you have to pay half of it back, and some of them you have to pay the whole thing. So it's too much of, it's a broad answer. It's a broad question for me to really give you some details. But call me, actually email me your phone number, and we can have the conversation, so I can a few follow-up questions. I could really see what you mean by that.
This is why we're so thankful to have a great coach like Danya, who can help you all answer these questions, because it depends. It depends. But as you can see, there's a lot of details. We have a couple other questions on the chat, not the Q&A. So does the certificate expire? Was one of the questions.
That's a great question. It does expire. I would say most municipalities want you to redo it within 1 year.
Okay, so then you should be within 1 year of ready to buy a home when you take that class to get the certificate. So,
Yeah.
you know, if you think you're 2 or 3 years away from buying a home, there may be some other steps that you can take. Get in touch with Danya, get in touch with Denise or Latricia, and you can do some other things toward building your financial capability.
Yes, the one-on-one homeowners, the one-on-one session is probably the best if you think you're going to be a couple years, because that's the perfect time. If you're thinking long-term, now it's really the best time to start working on your credit, your budget, aspects of it to start moving forward, because then that way when you are ready, you don't have to start getting ready when you are ready. Does that make sense? Like when you're ready to make that move, you know, an opportunity opens up and bam, you can go to lender, get approved, and there you are.
Yeah, that is great. And there was a question about when you should take the class. And so I suspect we just kind of also answered that. If there are any other questions, or Tracy or Denise, were you going to answer some of these?
Are there other questions in there?
I think we got them all.
There is one that I wanted to add one thing to, the question about can you use the certificate to buy any home? And the answer is yes, any home that's eligible for down payment assistance, that'll get you in line for it. It doesn't just have to be a land trust home. It doesn't have to be a home that we're the developer for or anything like that. That's not related. So
yeah, and just one more thing that Frank, just to piggyback off Frank, yes, the homeownership, the class, and the homeownership, the counseling, the one-on-one, I do that separate to the land trust. So you don't have to have anything to do with wanting the land trust to work with a HUD approved housing counseling agency. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, I actually bet that most of the people that work with Danya don't wind up buying a land trust home. Yeah, just sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but yeah, she's great to help anybody buy a home. That's what we're here for. So
before you move on, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Please.
So Danya, I get this a lot. So the two questions that I get is, in terms of down payment assistance with the city and the county at this point because of COVID, are they actually providing down payment assistance? And if not, are there other avenues that you can go to get the down payment assistance? And then my second question is,
oh, let me do one at a time because I do have ADD and you'll just, okay, my train of thought will just go, woo. Okay, so to answer your question, I looked this up because I know you're in Orlando. And when I looked it up, the city of Orlando was putting it on, I believe they had put it on hold because of COVID. But then I looked at, you have a housing authority. And it seems like there is down payment assistance through the housing authority. So send me here, I can look it up real quick, but send me your email and then because I found the link because I was kind of researching a little bit for myself for the Orlando area. And when I read that, I called them because I was like, what? It's on hold? And I left a message and I'm waiting for them to call me back. But then I found the housing authority.
So I can add to that a lot of our sources of down payment assistance dollars come down from the state. And last year, because of COVID, the state didn't appropriate any dollars for the city and county programs that usually are used to fund down payment assistance. So a lot of those programs ran out of money at some point last year. It looks like the legislature has voted on the budget. We got to have the governor sign it, but assuming that happens, then there will be a pretty good bucket of money for down payment assistance programs. So that'll come out over the summer probably. So we're
And
a
it
few
goes
months
to
away.
Yeah, and it goes to show that in your area, people are buying because, because here they didn't shut it down. So I'm
Yeah.
looking it up right now, but you can ask me the other question while my phone downloads.
I'll tell you too, just let me throw in one more thing before Denise asks her second question, that several banks also do have down payment assistance programs. So there are some other sources out there, but the city and county programs here are on hold.
Yeah. I have some flyers, Denise. I can give you that information. That way you have it for your people.
That would be great. Thank you. And thank you, Frank, for all that awesome information. My second question is the debt to income limit. This seems to be an issue. So my question is, what percentage do most lenders look at? And if you could explain to the participants about what that debt to income ratio is and what it means.
Okay, so your debt to ratio income is basically, I'll say, how much house you could afford. So they take your monthly gross income. It's always based on your monthly gross income. And then they figure out, then you have your debt, and there's a percentage that's allowed for debt, and there's a percentage that's allowed for your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Okay, it's called front end and back end. So your debt to ratio income, what that is it's the percentage of your monthly gross income that is used to pay your principal, interest, taxes, insurance, and everything on your credit report. It's a small percentage. It's a smaller percentage than if you were renting. Because I know a lot of people come to me and they're like, well, I'm paying more for rent. Why can't I afford what I'm paying for rent? And I have to show them because the lenders use, and to answer your question on the number, it really depends. Now, this is where it gets tricky. It depends if it's a conventional loan or an FHA loan. And it also depends on the guidelines for the down payment assistance, because sometimes the down payment assistance have their own ratios that the lenders are allowed to use. So normally I like to say back end 43%. So we're going to say 43 here. Let me get my calculator and I'll show you guys. So let's say someone makes, I don't know, 35,000, divide that by 12. That's 2,900. It's backwards, sorry. $16.66 times 0.43%. So that this person's total monthly payment for principal, tax, and insurance should not exceed more than $1,254. Now, that's why I like to go back to the credit report, the budget, because some people might say, whoa, Danya, I can't afford that. That's too high. And then we kind of tweak it based on what they're comfortable paying. Did I answer your question?
I did. Thank you so much.
I think that suggests to me, email Danya and get her on the phone and talk through this with your own personal situation. We're happy to help with that kind of thing. I think we
One
want
more
to.
question.
Oh, we got another question. Oh boy.
How long? Hold on, guys. I can't see. How long do you have to take the class on Saturday before you begin to look in the buying a home? It all depends on if you're ready or not, honestly. Some people take the class and they're like, I got work to do. I've had people come to me more than once to take the class and they didn't mind it because they realized they weren't ready. So if you want to take the class Saturday, if you have the time, you're more than welcome to. It's free. You could sit down with me, you could take a look, see if you feel like you're ready, and then you could start. You got to start somewhere. It's how I see it. So I would either make an appointment with me to do the one-on-one appointment or take the homeownership class just to see where you're at this very moment if you're not sure. I hope I answered it.
That was great. There's also a question in the chat, not the Q&A, about putting the ratios in a message in the chat here so that everybody could see it.
Oh.
And they could do the math with their own. And then I think we are waiting on Tracy, who also has a presentation for us.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tracy. Well, okay, go ahead, Tracy, and I'm going to find something for them. If you guys don't mind, I know it's already late, but just to help everyone out, I'm going to show them something real quick, okay? But Tracy can get started if she likes, and I could just show them at the end.
Okay. I'm going to share my screen. Hold on, I'm just answering another question in the chat. About where you can take the classes.
Are all of
All right, let me share my screen. One second. Let me just do that. Good evening, everyone, while I'm trying to get this together. Thank you for being here. I'm glad to hear you guys have such great questions. And hopefully you're getting everything you need to get answered so you can be ready to buy a home. All right. Tell me if you all can see my screen.
Not yet, Tracy.
What does it say? My screen sharing is paused. Zoom share. Now can you see it?
Now we
Yes.
got you.
Okay, beautiful. All right, so I know we are running short on time. I will do this as quickly as possible. You guys had some great questions. So I am Tracy Blue, the Director of Strategic Community Initiatives, and we're going to talk about what some of those initiatives are. As I have heard many times, our founder likes to say that housing is our foot in the door to deal with all the issues that either affect or are affected by housing. So that's where I come in. I deal with all the other stuff. So some of the outreach categories that we cover include health and wellness, because if you're having to deal with a lot of medical expenses, that's going to affect how much money you have available for housing. Education is important because if you need additional education to help you get a higher paying job, that's something that we can help you identify. Housing obviously is our main focus. Jobs and employment, again, because that affects how much house you can afford and if you can afford to be a homeowner as opposed to a renter. Safety, because everyone wants to live in a safe neighborhood. And general engagement that is affected by housing. So one of our first health and wellness issues that I will address is COVID testing. Obviously, this is the world we're living in right now. So since November, we've been providing COVID testing in the Paramore and Westlakes areas because we wanted that to be easily accessible in your neighborhood so that you don't have to, drive miles and miles to find a site where you can get tested. So we have conducted tests at Mount Zion Missionary Institutional Baptist Church and Livingston Street Church of God, otherwise known as 910 in Paramore. And these pictures that you see are from the Barker Park Farmers Market that we also held several testing events for. Through all these events, we've been able to test over 200 people since November. So we're pretty proud of being able to bring that to you. And the other thing that's exciting about our tests are that they are self-administered saliva tests instead of the nasal, or as I call them, the brain swabs. So they're much more painless, much less painful. Another health focused initiative is our weekly food delivery. So when the pandemic first started, we reached out to see what the greatest needs were in the community at the time. And food access for seniors and people in vulnerable populations who couldn't or shouldn't go out to grocery stores bubbled to the top. So we immediately partnered with Polis Institute and Second Harvest Food Bank, and we have been doing weekly deliveries of non-perishables and produce since April of last year. We have been able to reach approximately 250 households per week during that time. And that has been such a successful undertaking that Second Harvest has taken it on full-time as a new program for them called Bring Hope Home after nearly a year of service. So they are currently managing that program. And we're very proud of what we've been able to do to help people stay fed during these COVID times. One of our education initiatives is the Quest for the Best Team Summit that we're currently working on. It's developed as a program of the OCPS ACE Schools Community Leadership Council. And we're partnering with the Hughes Levy Boys and Girls Club, which is on the campus of the ACE School, the Livingston Street Church of God, Orlando Police Department, Children's Home Society that manages the community partnership schools in our area, UCF, the Valencia Downtown Campus, and City Place Church. Those are all the people that are working to bring the summit to reality. It is going to be happening this summer. We are in flux with the date right now because we originally had it scheduled for a Friday in June, but since summer school is now the full week, Monday through Friday, for a much longer time period than it was in the past, with more students participating, we're looking to move it to a Saturday. But we're very close to determining that date, and we'll definitely be sharing that information. We're very excited. It's going to have food. We're going to have breakfast and lunch. We're going to have some opening and closing sessions. We'll have 4 main breakout sessions that cover social health and healthy relationships, helping young people learn to communicate in this world of electronic communication. I think we're losing some of the art of communication. We're going to talk about safety. There have been some safety issues that have happened, some violence that's happened in the neighborhood, and we want the young people to understand how and why it's important to report what they know about those things and how that affects their safety. And we're also going to be sharing information about the Teen Citizen Police Academy, the Police Explorers opportunity, and a new magnet program with OPD that's going to take place at a couple of our high schools called the Junior Law Enforcement Academy. It's a really exciting opportunity. Planning for a Bright Future will include the teens doing Strengths Finders assessments in advance and then going through those assessments and the results of those assessments with a professional facilitator to help them identify what types of careers and what types of things they can do based on what their strengths are that will set them up for success in the future. And then achieving academic success, we'll be talking about both success in their current middle and high school endeavors, as well as preparing them for post-secondary education, whether that's going to college, whether that's getting a post-secondary certificate, a technical training, whatever that may look like for them. One of the initiatives we've been working on for several months now is our Evictions and Foreclosure Task Force. And we have convened multiple government and community agencies to discuss the impending tsunami that we're expecting once the moratoria expire and the rental assistance and eviction diversion programs go away. We want to help avoid a massive, eviction crisis. So we're sharing information on the rental assistance and eviction diversion programs that exist, and we're about to embark on navigation events to help people with access to those assistance programs, because the majority of them are online, and we do know that the people who need the help the most are often technologically challenged. Either they don't have the technology in their homes, or they don't have regular access to it, or they don't understand how to navigate those sites. So we're going to have people available to help them navigate, they can bring their paperwork to get the documents scanned into the system and just help them through that process. And then also be able to provide legal assistance for tenants who may already be involved in the eviction process. And that assistance will come from Community Legal Assistance of Mid-Florida and the Legal Aid Society, the Orange County Bar. One of the things that we did earlier, or I guess mid to late last year, was help increase the census participation in Paramore and West Lakes. Those are some of the typically hardest to count areas on a good year. And we were in the midst of a pandemic, which was not a good year to do a census. So we came up with several things to help increase that participation, including a census-a-thon contest to help get people registered and provide some prizes, some gift cards for those who registered online and took care of it themselves. We were pounding the pavement, putting up posters and information about why the census was important and why you should participate. We sent census workers to every event that we were aware of where there were people gathered. Even though we were in a pandemic, there were lots of food distribution events going on, back to school supply drives. There was even a ball distribution that we sent census workers to get people to complete their census on site. One of the events that we did was we pulled together our own census food drop, and the pictures you see are from this event that happened at Camping World Stadium in September. We were able to distribute over 70,000 pounds of food, and we had census workers there that you will see they're talking to people in their cars as they're in line waiting to get their food. We were able to get over 25 census questionnaires completed on site, and then we provided information to people. Everybody got a bag of goodies in addition to their food. And so we provided some more information on both census and voter registration for people to do it on their own when they got home. We served over 1,800 people, over 23,000 meals, and through all of our efforts, based on what we know, and we still have not gotten all of the tabulations back from the census, but we were able to increase census participation by at least 10% in Paramore and at least 5% in West Lakes. It may not sound like a lot, but every person counted helps. We have addressing our safety issue. We have a partnership with OPD, working on several different things between developing relationships between OPD and the residents in the areas that we work with. Through the Paramore Community Engagement Council, we have an Adopt a Block program where officers are going and literally walking the streets and meeting residents in those neighborhoods. We've been able to reach out to OPD to address areas of concern that have been brought to our attention and get OPD to participate in events to address those issues, answer questions, develop rapport. The safety portion of our Teen Summit is a large part of what we're doing. And so having their involvement in those kinds of things has been very helpful. Paramore Community Engagement Council is an organization that we are part of that does a lot of work in the community, especially in and around the Paramore community. These pictures you see is from another farm share food distribution event that we did in June that took place actually at the A school. It was another large food distribution event. And for that one, they were doing the to-go packs for the schools where the families were able to come and get food every day since the students were not getting food from the schools. That was happening while our farm share food distribution was happening. So they got fresh food and produce, meats and cheeses and milk. We also provided non-perishable foods. And then they also got some hot food through Four Rivers and their Four Roots Foundation at that event. Through Paramore Community Engagement Council, we're also doing financial literacy classes. We're about to embark on a series of classes where once a month at the Callahan Center, we will be doing classes on you can choose either Saturday morning or Tuesday evening to come, and each month will be a different topic. And we're covering, for the first series, we're covering basic financial literacy, things like banking, why that's important, budgeting, credit, saving, avoiding identity theft. Those are all some of the things that we will address in the first series. Once we're done with that series, we'll have a 2.0 that gets into a little more advanced topics like will and estate planning, saving for college, things like that. So we definitely encourage people to look out for information. We're planning to start those sessions in June. We're also pulling together some legal aid clinics whereby you can come and we'll provide some either pre-recorded or face-to-face know your rights types of sessions about different things. The first one we're working on is about housing, and again, as we're dealing with this potential eviction crisis and knowing your rights about your housing and how to stay housed and how to deal with the assistance programs and the moratorium and all that. And then also being able to get one-on-one counseling from the attorneys after those sessions. And then we are also in the midst of doing a housing condition survey to see what the housing looks like in that area and who's renting, who's owning, who wants to become, move from renting to owning and that sort of thing. So we're going to be kicking that off this summer as well. Some of the general engagement that we're doing are specific neighborhood engagement. So Housed is a regional housing trust. A lot of the work that we're doing and that I've been talking about thus far is focused on Paramore and Westlake, but we are regional. We do cover the Tri-County area, Orange, Osceola, and Seminole. So we're working specifically with a neighborhood in called East Altamont and their community association, and working with them on various things related to that neighborhood and the needs that they have. For example, we had a representative from Career Source that came out and spoke at their community association this meeting about workforce development. We are working with the Central Florida National Service Collective on helping to provide affordable housing for national service members who are working for a year on a very small stipend, many of whom come from out of the area, and they need affordable housing opportunities while they're here giving service to the community. We were working with Central Florida Urban League on various things from the COVID testing to our housing counseling and home buyer education, having a wider range of options. That may be where the person who asked the question about whether the home buyer education classes are available other than Saturdays, they may have some other options for that as well. And then our housing counseling working group that is, again, addressing that issue in on a wider scale. That is it. I ran through that as quickly as I possibly could. Here is my contact information. If anybody has any questions, I don't see anything in the Q&A, and for some reason I can't see the chat right now, but maybe when I stop sharing my screen, we'll be able to see that. Does anybody see any questions in the chat that I can address? Okay. I think that's it.
So, Tracy, Frank, and Danya, there is a chat question that was put in a while ago from Ms. Williams in terms of, I know Danya was trying to get to do the math, but she also asked about the down payment or closing costs.
Well, okay, you mean for, can she ask the question? Because I'm not, what does she mean by the down payment and closing costs?
Okay, so the question says, if you have more for your down payment or closing costs, do you have lower payments for your mortgage?
Well, the more you put down, the less your mortgage loan is going to be. So then, yes, the less your payment will be, because you're going to borrow a little less. So I know some programs, I think what she's, some programs, she might know somebody when they use some forms of down payment assistance, they'll cover more than, like, let's say FHA will do 3.5% down, and they might cover a little bit more than 3.5% down plus the closing costs. Some programs will do that. And when they do that, then yes, your payment would be less because you're borrowing less. And I do have that. If she wants me to share it, I can share. This is what else here. Let me show you guys. If you, I know everyone, I know it's late, but Let me go back to sharing real quick. Okay, so this is what I work out of when I do the one-on-one counseling, just so everyone can see it. We could wrap it up. So basically, I go over employment. I figure out, are you self-employed? Are you W-2? How long have you been at job? We talk about that. We talk about savings and what you have to put down when you're buying a house. What do you have to pay out of pocket, your upfront costs, such as the escrow deposit, the down payment portion, if you don't qualify for down payment. And if you do, we figured all those numbers out. If you don't qualify, how much you have to save. If I might qualify, how much do I have to save? Everything. And then we do a budget together. So this is the budget. And then I send you an actual detailed budget on Excel. People love it when I do that. And then we figure out your affordability based on all total household. You got to keep in mind with down payment assistance, when you're working with a loan and down payment assistance different. For the loan, the lender wants to know what whoever is on the mortgage, what's your income? They don't care about everybody else in the household, right? But for down payment assistance, it's all household income. So if I'm living with my son, my husband, my mom, my mother-in-law, so guess what? If my mom and my mother-in-law and my husband have money coming in for down payment assistance, they're including everyone's income because it's total household income. So I plug everything in, and then we figure out what, based on where you are at right here, will determine the type of down payment assistance, if anything, is available to you. There's all different types of down payment assistance. There's lenders have first-time home buyer programs that have nothing to do with the government. Then there's different types of government. So in the class, we kind of discuss it, but the one-on-one, we really, really get at it to see where you're at income-wise and see where you might qualify for it if you need it. And not everybody wants it. Some people decide to do it on their own if they can, whatever is the easiest for anybody. Then we go through the credit report. I give tips on how to increase a score if that's what they need to do. If they have collections they need to pay off, what needs to be done. This is the part that everyone was asking about, the debt to ratio income. So what I do is, this is my sheet. So I figure out all your monthly debt goes in here. I figure out monthly gross income. I have 42%, but I really do 43. I plug that in here. I subtract your monthly debt that's on your credit report. I plug it in here. See this right here where my mouse is at? That's the escrow. We kind of play around with the numbers. It depends where you're going to buy. Every area is different on taxes and insurance, but we just play around with the numbers. We plug it in just to get an idea of what you can afford. And then right here, we figure out how much loan you can afford. Then we figure out your down payment assistance, the down payment assistance from the lender, and then we take it, and then we go from there. And I know you guys are gonna have more questions, but honestly, for a class for just a quick introduction like this, it's harder. So what I recommend is, if you have more questions, reach out to me. Take the class on Saturday or the following Saturday or the next Saturday, whichever Saturday you want. We have one every month, and we could do the one-on-one. Because I thought I saw another question on here. So that's just kind of like to wrap it up for you guys, so you have the big picture. And then we figure out your rental, depending on your credit, depends on how the lender's going to look at your rental. And then we create an action plan. And this is where we do this together, and we figure out what you need to do to become mortgage ready.
I think the answer to 90% of the questions is please email Danya and get on the phone with her. She's a genius at this stuff. So she can take you through all this, and you could do it one-on-one on the phone, or you could do it online. So you can be, seeing this stuff live on screen like she's sharing today. So we're so grateful for you all for hosting us tonight. Denise and Latricia, this was just wonderful. Thanks everybody. Really enjoyed all the super active participation. Lots and lots and lots of great questions. So thanks so much for having us.